Hi, welcome to Math 115 Business Calculus. Here's a long agenda of all the things I'm going to cover. I won't read this to you, but there is a printout of this PowerPoint available in Beachboard. So we'll start off with what is calculus? It's the study of rates of change that allow you to answer questions such as, how fast is my profit increasing? What price should I charge to maximize my revenue? How do I minimize my costs? How much money will I make if I sell one more item? What happens if I increase the price by $1? In terms of the class structure, there's 3 portions to this class. The first column representing large lecture is where twice a week you will meet with your professor for 50 minutes, about 2 hours combined, and you will be completing your lecture notes, taking exams, and taking the final. In the middle column is where you'll spend 2 hours once a week all together to satisfy your activities requirement. Here's where you'll be doing group work and taking your pen and paper quizzes. Everything on this page will be discussed further as we go. But that's not all there is to class. There's also outside of class, right? The third component. This is a 3-unit class, and if you have 3 units, you're considered to need 2 hours per week per unit, so in our case, 6 hours a week, just to get a C in the class. It's this time outside of class where you will be completing your ALEKS online homework, which is WebAssign, your offline homework, and studying for exams. There's also another optional structure for the class that is highly recommended, Math 95. This is an additional 2 hours once a week where you'll be getting extra help and homework and quiz preparation. As a matter of fact, a little more detail that you'll be working in a small group of about 30 students to get that algebra support and practice that you need, but there'll also be reviews for quizzes and exams, study skill discussions, and extra problems. And if you haven't signed up, don't worry, it's not too late. There's still room in this 1 credit pass, no pass, or credit, no credit class with no homework. This is just 2 hours that you know you'll be working to be successful in the class. Here's a snapshot of the first 6 weeks of our calendar for this fall 2020 semester. If you look at the Thursday and Sunday columns in tan, I don't know what color that is, you have homework due online for WebAssign almost every single Sunday and Thursday night. Also, if you look to the far left of the calendar under week 2 and week 4, you can see that you're going to be taking a quiz in activity. Again, we'll discuss the details of the quiz more in a moment. We don't have the quiz listed on individual dates since everybody attends activity on a different day of the week, but everybody will be taking a quiz in week 2. And then down in week 5, you can see in green that you'll be taking your exam in large lecture over about, 6 or 7 sections. And then the yellow is ALEKS, which we'll talk about in a moment. And of course, the whole calendar is available in your course packet and on Beachboard. This class grade breakdown might seem a little overwhelming, but it gives you lots of opportunities to be successful in this class. You will have 3 midterms that combine for 32% of your class grade. Your activity quizzes will combine to be 24% of your class grade. WebAssign, your online homework that was due on Thursdays and Sundays, is 12% of your grade. Lecture quizzes, which we'll discuss in a moment, 5%. Activity participation, 4%. That's just showing up to activity and working on problems in your group, 4% of your grade. ALEKS, 3%, and at the end of the semester, we will have a cumulative final worth 20% of your grade. So what do you need for this class? Well, the only thing you're going to have to purchase is the course packet, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. There's also the Day 1 digital access. This is both ALEKS and WebAssign, the 2 online software programs you'll be using, but they're already charged to your account and available to you the first day of class. So all you'll need is a class code, not a access code for the product. Keep in mind that Both of these probably use accounts you don't have set up, even though you may already have an ALEKS and a WebAssign. And if you already have paid for one, and we'll talk about some people, there is an opt-out option we'll discuss later. The last thing at the bottom of the page is a non-graphing calculator. Most of you probably already own a non-graphing calculator, but if not, there's pretty good versions at both Staples and Target and Walmart for about $10, and they should be mentioned in your syllabus. So ALEKS is one of the first assignments I want to talk about. It's worth 3% of your grade, and sometimes it seems easy to blow something off because 3% doesn't sound like a lot, but keep in mind if you have a 68% in the class, that 3% would have given you the passing 71%. So the point of ALEKS is to brush up on your algebra or show us that you already know it. You're going to be taking an initial assessment, which may be called a placement test, to show you what you know, and it will give you a pie. And you can see the pie on the left with 254, although it says 255. I can't even see what number that is in the middle of the pie. Never mind. Many of you, like I said, may have used ALEKS as part of your CSULB assessment or be familiar with it from high school, but this will be a separate ALEKS account. And the better you do on your initial assessment, the less work you will have in the future. This is your opportunity to practice exercises until you master new topics, and those topics will be added to your pie. But there's some important information about ALEKS points and deadlines, because it's all about time management. Only the final assignment offers partial credit, and there is no late credit option, so you want to stay on top of this. And those of you familiar with ALEKS already know that there are frequent knowledge checks which can set you back. So after you've hit 65 topics and get a knowledge check, you could drop down to 50 topics, and now you've got a lot of work to gain. If you look at the right side of the slide, you can see week 1, the initial assessment is due Friday, August 28th, the first week of school, and everything's due at midnight, so 11:59 p.m. on Friday, so you have all of Friday. All we're asking is that you complete the assessment, and whatever score you get will give you full credit for this. But again, the better you do here, the less work you'll have ahead of you. At the beginning of week 3, Tuesday, September 8th, you will need to complete 70 topics. Many of you will have already completed 70 topics from your initial assessment and won't have to worry about this. Even if you had 70 topics and dropped down, so long as you've hit 70 topics at one point, by Tuesday, September 8th, you will receive full credit for this assignment. At the beginning of week 5, you need to be up to 90 topics. Again, maybe you're already there. And in week 7, you'll want to complete all 120 topics by Tuesday, October 6th. This is the assignment worth partial credit. So if you've gotten up to 100 topics and you're just too tired and can't seem to make it for those last 20 topics, you'll still get some really good partial credit. WebAssign is your online homework that is worth 12% of your grade. Homework problems are used to practice what you've learned in class and prepare you for your quizzes and exams. As we've already seen on the calendar, they are due every Thursday and Sunday at midnight, which would be 11:59 p.m. that day. And you have the first 48 hours after the due date to complete any unanswered problems at 80% of their original value. So let's say there were 10 problems on an assignment and you finished 9 of them by the due date, but you have 1 left unanswered problem. You could just accept the 90% credit, or let's say it was a Thursday homework, you could spend Friday or Saturday completing that last problem to get 98% on your homework. Even though you can't reach 100, you got pretty close. And please note, it is not any 48-hour window you wish. It is only the first 2 days after the due date. So only Friday and Saturday after a Thursday due date, and only Monday and Tuesday immediately following a Sunday due date. And lastly, I'd like to point out, use your online homework as a source to learn and not cheat to get it done. It's easy to just keep answering, typing in numbers until you get the answer right, ask a friend to solve a problem for you, but this is what's preparing you to be successful on the quizzes and exams. The more you understand your WebAssign homework, the better you'll do in the class. Math 115 Business Calculus Course Packet. This is what you'll be writing into at every lecture and every activities section. It's like guided notes. And there's some problems that will only be presented in videos available via Beachboard, so you'll want to be sure to watch for those. The packet also contains offline homework with answers to help prepare you for your quizzes and exams. Anyone repeating this class? If so, you'll want to listen to this. Top left, you do not need to purchase WebAssign. Top right, you do need to purchase ALEKS again. Bottom left, this means what you'll have to do is opt out, which is opt out of the Day One digital program, which unfortunately causes you to opt out of both programs. So you're going to have to purchase ALEKS separately, but there's information about that in Beachboard. And bottom right, you don't have to buy a new course packet, but I think you may want to. If you didn't pass the class once and you went through the whole class, you might want to start fresh taking new notes. But if you didn't pass because you had to drop after the second week, there's no need to purchase a packet when you have one that's mostly blank. But if you do have a packet with information on it, keep in mind, each page is single-sided, meaning the back of the pages are blank. So when you're open up to page 5, on the left is the back of page 4, which is blank, and you could take new notes into that and save yourself some time and money. Offline homework. This is going to be your practice writing out your work, just like you will on a quiz and your test, but we'll talk about that piece later. It's kind of like a practice test, but I wouldn't wait to work on it until the test. It's a good way to reiterate the information you've learned in homework. The second column with the house. Some of this work will actually be completed in activity. Those problems indicate to complete during activity, so please don't solve those ahead of time because the activity leader may talk to you about certain things they want you to do while you're working on them, but the rest of the problems you will be doing at home. Again, I suggest you work on it after you complete your WebAssign for that section if you haven't already completed it, because it really reiterates what you've learned in your online homework. And we've already mentioned that the answers are in the back of the class packet, so you can always check your work. Now, far right item. This is not graded. It is not collected. It doesn't count towards your grade. But this is fantastic preparation for getting a good grade. I know it's easy to think, hey, it's not due, so I won't do it. But when you get a failing grade on a quiz, you might wish you had. You'll also be taking lecture quizzes, which are worth 5% of your grade. After every class, there will be a 4-question quiz to take in Beachboard. You'll see at the top of Beachboard where it says quizzes. The question will ask you to enter information directly from your notes. So if you've taken notes, you may have a question that says, what was the answer to problem 2 on page 48? The whole thing is it's not about understanding the material, but confirming that you've received the information. In this remote learning environment, we feel it's so important to be sure that you're absorbing the lecture material, that we're giving you 5% of your grade for basically proving to us that you've written down your notes. The third row talks about you have until midnight, 11:59 p.m., the day after the lecture to take the quiz. So if you had a Tuesday lecture, not activity, but a Tuesday lecture, you have until Wednesday night to complete the quiz. There is no late work accepted, but if you miss a class, each lecture will be recorded and you can watch that recording to still complete your notes and finish this quiz on time. Activity is worth 4% of your grade. Once a week for 2 hours a day, you will meet with about 30 other students from your large lecture consisting of about 150 students, so this is your small group setting. You will work in these even smaller groups, maybe 4 to 5 students, that will be guided by your activity leader to practice the material you've learned in class. Some weeks you will be preparing for your online homework, while other weeks the activity material will reinforce what you've already learned in your online homework. Either way, it's excellent practice for your quizzes and exams, and about every other week, you will be taking a quiz at the beginning of class. So let's discuss those quizzes. Combined, they're worth 24% of your grade. They will be taken during the first 20 minutes of activity, and then you'll have 10 minutes to scan and upload your work to the Beachboard Dropbox. The quizzes will be available to print or view on Beachboard, so you do not need a printer if you don't have one, but you must be logged into Zoom for your quiz to count. And be sure to be logged in on time so there aren't any issues and you get the maximum amount of time to take your quiz. Be ready! Your first quiz is in the second week of class on material covered the first week of activity. This material won't be covered in lecture, it will only be covered in activity in week 1, and then you'll have a quiz in week 2. Exams. There were 32% of your grade. These, instead of in activity, will be taken during large lecture at the end of the week. So if you check the calendar for the exact dates, you'll see that if you have a Monday, Wednesday class, your exams will be on Wednesdays. If you have a Tuesday, Thursday class, your exam will be on Thursdays. You will have the whole length of the class, which is 50 minutes for this exam. And again, you'll need to be logged into Zoom for your exam to count. But instead of a paper quiz, a paper test, like you've done in your quizzes in activity, this will be taken using the Beachboard Quizzes feature, just like those weekly lecture quizzes that you've been taking. And you'll have 10 minutes following the exam to scan and upload your written work that you used for typing in your answers. Hopefully that's it. If not, it should be covered in your syllabus. But if you have additional questions, please ask your large lecture instructor. Thanks so much for your time, and I know you're going to do great in this class.